Hello Groveland Township. Today's video is to talk about a couple of issues that are available to us to consider for the fire department going forward. For those of you who don't know, the operating millage for the fire department has to be renewed every 10 years. And the current operating millage for the fire department comes up for renewal in the fall of 2019. In preparation for that, along with some other changes that are taking place, we wanted to take a look at the fire department and make sure we have any available options that might apply for us to look at. Let me start out by saying that, first of all, everybody agrees that the fire department here in Groveland has got a dedicated group of men and women that provide excellent fire protection and paramedic service for our residents. No one would dispute that. This is not about the level of service. It's top-notch. The issue is talking about whether or not we have a sustainable program going forward and what some of the options that might be available now, recently, in the last few weeks, that weren't available before. First of all, let me start out by saying a couple of things. It is virtually impossible for a very small township, and we are effectively the smallest real township left in Oakland County, to be able to spread the cost as far as most people do for their fire department services to get the cost per resident down in the range where most of them are. For that reason, our fire department's millage cost today is 3.94 mils. And that's the second highest fire millage in the entire county. It's not because anybody's wasting a lot of money. It's because we simply do not have a big enough base to spread it any further. We are less than 6,000 residents in Groveland Township. Most of the fire departments around us have something in the neighborhood of 12 to 17,000 residents, which makes it much more cost effective to provide a lower cost. In fact, the other two general law townships that are left in Oakland County, besides Groveland, are Rose and Holly townships. And you probably know that the three of us share the Michigan State Police Detachment that's here in Groveland for police services. Two of the three, Rose and Holly, have been sharing the fire service through an organization called NOCFA, which is the North Oakland County Fire Authority. We thought it was appropriate to take a look because, one, costs are continuing to be an issue with the fire department today, and we need to make some changes. And two, because it would allow us an opportunity to see whether or not we need to make a change with our longtime chief, Steve McGee, who's going to be retiring in June. Based on that, we did some evaluation over the last several months. And for quite a while, we kept on coming up after some changes that we proposed making in the fire department that are going to make it, we think, more cost-effective and able to do a better job meeting its needs under the current millage going forward. I'm happy to say that Assistant Chief Mason has made some suggestions which we think will yield positive results. The fire department's never been in the red. It's just not enough in the black to be able to facilitate buying the replacement equipment as time comes up. With the changes that he's proposing, we think we can meet the needs under the current millage going forward. But there's a couple of other changes that came up in just the last few weeks. Last fall, the ISO organization, Insurance Services Organization, went through the entire area and re-rated every fire department. And much to a lot of our surprises, our already sterling best-in-class ISO 4 got improved to an ISO 3. What surprised a lot of us is Springfield and NOCFA, which handles Rose and Holly, also got the exact same ISO rating that we have. And what that means is when the insurance companies look at a fire station, they have now evaluated it in a way that says everything that's within a 5-mile road radius, not actual circle, but the road miles, from a fire station qualifies for the ISO rating. When we looked at this, we realized that the station in Holly, which is on Grange Hall Road, just west of Groveland Township, has actually got a significant amount of coverage in the area that's in Groveland Township and being serviced by Station 1 today. Many of you may know that for the last couple of years, we have been talking about taking Station 1, the oldest station on Dixie, and replacing it with a newer station over by the Mabus building on Grange Hall Road. And the Mabus building is that big blue building that we had opening up last October. This would allow us the opportunity, if we decided to go with the NOCFA organization, to virtually eliminate the need for Station 1 because its area of coverage is pretty similar to what the area of coverage is for the NOCFA station. Now currently, the township's kind of divided in order to balance the workload this way. The east half of the township is basically covered by Station 2, which is on Grange Hall Road near Jossman. The west half of the township, which is covered by Station 1, also primarily covers the Dixie I-75 corridor for all the visitor traffic we have. It handles a lot of the recreational park property for the visitors we have, and it handles Groveland Oaks for the visitors that we have here. But the rest of the township's pretty much divided that way. And for those of you who don't know it, the lower corner on Groveland Township on the west side of I-75 is currently, and has been for a long time, covered by NACFA anyway, just as Holly's property that is on the east side of I-75 up in the northern end of the township is covered by Groveland. So if you look at the 36 square miles that we have, you can take the corner out that's handled by NACFA right now. That's the way the township's handled today, and it works pretty well for us, we think. We have a good level of service and good response times. So we think that this new opportunity may or may not be right for us, but we wanted to make sure that you, our residents, understand that we're always looking at ways to try and improve the cost structure here and maintain things that we have in the township. This is not outsourcing the fire department to somebody else. It would be, in fact, joining NACFA as a 1/3 equal owner, manager, operator of the organization. NACFA is a freestanding fire authority that is managed by the townships that are part of it. And currently that's Rose and Holly. If we were to join them, it would be the three of us. In that case, we wouldn't need Station 1. We would use their station on Grange Hall Road to cover the far west side of our township. And the service area for the township station number 2 that's on Grange Hall near Jossman is basically about 85% of the township's area. This is just an option that's available. Now, we know that there's dollars and cents involved in it. In this particular case, what happens is you spread the cost of the fire department over a much bigger base. That bigger base means that you can lower the millage from the current 3.94, which is not going to be able to be reduced, down to about 3 1/4, maybe a little better, but we're confident at least 3 1/4. Now, that may not be a lot of money to you, and if so, that's okay. But we're trying to let you know we're always looking at ways to provide improved cost structure. The other issue that has to be evaluated is whether or not the service levels for the medical response is the same, because in reality, most of the fire departments out in the north end of the suburbs here are primarily doing advanced and basic life support more than they are fire service runs. And to that area, it's a little bit harder to get hard, tangible numbers. One thing you can compare is what are the average response times for a call. The average response times for Groveland Township are 7 minutes. The average response times for NACFA, 6.9 minutes. I won't argue over 6 seconds. I'd say that's effectively a wash. What I tried to find out in the last few weeks was what are there in the way of medical response records? How could we say our paramedics are doing a better job because these statistics are better? It's very hard to get something like that. There is a report that we found that does some evaluation of that called a CARES report. What this report does is evaluate one issue. It says for how often your firefighters get to a scene and somebody's heart is stopped, do they get the heart started, keep it running until they get them to the hospital, turn them over to the people inside the hospital, and then after the people in the hospital are done with them and they finally get discharged, did they make it out alive or not? And if they made it out alive, do they have good brain function or not? And what we found out in both of these CARE reports is that both NACFA and Groveland have statistics on the CARE report that are wildly better than the state of Michigan average or the U.S. country's average. And just to give you an example of it, in this particular case, both of them had either 7 or 8 of those instances in the given year, 2017. In the case of NACFA, their resuscitating the heart, if you will, was 62.5% compared to the national average of 31.8% and the state average of 28.8%. Now, Groveland's is even better than that. It was 85.7%. In addition, when you get survival after hospital admission, 50% of ours made it compared to, or excuse me, 50% of NACFA's made it compared to 27.6 for the state and 28.1 for the national average. But in Groveland, it was 57.1%. Now, when you get out beyond that and how many are discharged, there was only 1 from the NACFA group of 4. There was 4 from the Groveland group of 4. None of the NACFA, the one recipient that is, had good brain function, but in Groveland's, all 4 of them did. What I can't tell you is, in a limited base like that, what the other statistics are relevant to the individuals. Was 180 and 130? Did one have multiple complications and the other ones didn't? We don't know because the HIPAA rules prohibit you from getting any of that information. But clearly, both of them have significantly better numbers than the national average or the state average, and in this case, Groveland's in that year was even better than NACFA's. All of that, I think, goes into your evaluation as to what you think the path is for us to go forward. I cannot tell you if the change in the rate for the fire department cost is worthwhile in your mind or not. The township can work with either one of these. We actually think we have a choice between 2 good alternatives. And rather than preface it with trying to steer you one way or the other, we're simply trying to give you the facts and the information that we uncovered in the last primarily few weeks. The fire department gives good service. It's not in the red, but it does need to improve its cash management for replacement of equipment, and we think we have a way to do that. The millage will stay high at 3.94. If we were to join NACFA, the millage would go lower. We would not have to replace Station 1 because the areas of service for their Holly Station and our Station 2 pretty much blankets just about the whole darn township, and it keeps the ISO 3 exactly the same in both of them. So we hope that you'll all take the opportunity to look at the brief survey that's being sent out. Let us know what your preferences are. Give us any comments. And before we pursue anything any further, we'd like to know what the large base of the residents think on this particular issue. We're trying to get a sample from as many people as we can, so we've sent out almost 2,000 questionnaires with self-addressed stamped return envelopes, and we'd like to hear from you. One of the other issues that came up is what happens to our employees? Are we going to be laying them all off? Not the case. There are 4 full-time fire employees after the chief retires. All 4 of those employees, if they want it, have a job at the North Oakland Fire Authority, and by the way, they all would have better health care option than we currently provide. There's about 47 shift and on-call people that we have and about 47 shift and on-call people that NACFA has. And admittedly, when you put the 2 organizations together, you do not need 95 of them. But the chief in the NACFA group has said that all of the shift and on-call people that are located in Groveland, Brandon, Holly, Springfield, Independence, all the communities around us that are working for us now will be required when we consolidate them. We still have to do the same runs. So if there's any reduction in staff, it's most likely to be those people that are not local to this area. And we have a lot of shift people that come and go all throughout the year, work for us for a while, then go on to some other fire department. So we think we've tried to look at everything and give you a balanced picture of what the issue is between the 2. Both of these we think are good solutions. Both of them are different than each other. And if you want everything to stay the way it is with 2 stations physically located here, then you will have to choose the Groveland option at the 3.94 mils. If you want us to explore looking further at joining NACFA and reducing the millage down to 3.25, we can do that. The other benefit would be we would not need to replace Station 1. That would free up about $750,000 from the sale of the old Station 1, which could be used, and typically in the township, the other thing that we do with most of the money is put it into the roads out here. So Groveland, I hope you'll take the time to answer the questionnaire or the survey that we're sending to you. And when you're done with that, if you have any questions and you want to call the office, we'll be happy to get you the answer. And if we don't have it, we'll put you in touch with either Assistant Chief Mason, who can tell you how our folks do something, or Chief Jeremy Lenz at NACFA is offered to answer questions that might come in. So I hope we'll hear from you. I hope you'll respond and get the survey back to us in a timely manner as we continue our pursuit with how we want to handle the fire department going forward. Thank you. Now this next clip is taken from a meeting held at the Village of Holly on May the 8th of this year. The whole clip is available on YouTube if you're interested, but we thought you would want to see a spontaneous response by our current chief, Steve McGee, about the NTPVA organization. This is not an endorsement for one solution or the other, just a spontaneous comment about NTPVA.
I can't say enough good things about Mobile. I really can't. And the people are good, they train, they have an ISO 3, they're first class, they really are.